We're back, everybody. It's time for more fantastic Clash gameplay. This time today, we have myself on Ira against our opponent, Pat Smashgood, in our top 8 game as he plays Victor Goldmane into my little Kadachi annoying butt. Let's go ahead and see how this matchup works in this format and whether or not Ira can also reign supreme in this budget format, much like she does in Commoner. And so it begins. We go ahead and come into a match against myself as Ira, into my opponent Pat Smashgood, or Patrick Shaw of Off the Rails TCG. Feel free to go ahead and check him out. We have all of this available for you and more here on the channel. They are going to play a more defensive style of Victor Goldmane, I believe, here with the Aurum Aegis and all of their different powerful 2-block equipment. And myself, I'm playing a pretty normal output for Ira. Ira's big thing is being able to come in with 1 Kadachi for 1, another Kadachi for 2 due to her hero power buffing the second attack that comes in, and then coming for a usually 5 or 7 power attack of some sort if you have the resources for it. So this first turn is just kind of helping me filter out some stuff. I do have a pretty solid line here though. I'm then going to come in with a Surging Strike. Again, I do apologize for the glare that's about to happen. That 4th spot in the chain link always seems to be pretty glare heavy, but I'll make sure to let you know what I do have when I play it. So the next card is a Whelming Gustwave Red. Because we did play a Surging Strike last, we are going to go ahead and come in with that. They're dropping their whole hand. I dropped my whole hand pretty much. So it worked out in our favor. We didn't get to go super wide with a Gustwave turn, which is feels bad, but we did get a pretty solid beginning turn to kind of rip some stuff from them. Now, the big thing into this matchup is it's kind of difficult, especially since their hammer comes in for 4, and then if it hits, we do Clash. Now, it's a little unfortunate for me because as a ninja, I don't have many cards in my deck that can really match up to the power of a Guardian attack action card. I mainly have a lot of, I'd say probably Surging Strike is like the most powerful card in the deck as far as power level goes, and it's definitely not going to win me any clashes against a 6 power or higher card that's going to be in Victor's deck. So my whole goal here is just to kind of slowly but surely whittle away my opponent. Make sure that they are throwing cards at these Kadachis so they can block them out, and I can go ahead and play other cards from my hand. Now, no cards in my hand. They take damage. They go down to 16. So now 16 to 18. I'm really happy with how my equipment setup is. Instead of playing the Mask of 3 Tails like most normally would, most of my chains don't tend to go past Chain Link 3. So I don't really care too much about going to get an extra card from my deck with Mask of 3 Tails. But it could very well prove to be a very powerful card still. I just haven't tested enough of it. So here we're going to block 4. That's a pretty safe thing to do there, especially since I'll be able to come in with a whole bunch. Using Breaking Scales early in the game is kind of rough, but again, I know I'm going to be losing these clashes, and I don't want to have a card destroyed on my deck on top of taking 4 life. So I definitely don't want that to happen. We then come in for 2 with this Kadachi. You're going to see this a lot. I'm not really going to explain this a whole lot. That's kind of like Ira's thing, is you pitch a 0-cost blue card, you attack with Kadachi, then you attack with Kadachi, or something you're trying to bring up to a breakpoint, and then you attack with a 3rd card, 3rd attack action of some kind. So that's the plan here. We're coming in. They didn't want to give up their hand, so I decided to kind of put on the pressure. I'm coming with a Soul Bead Strike for 4, and it has an on hit of, if it does hit, this gets go again. So obviously you want your opponent to block this. I'm trying to either rip armor from them or take cards out of their hand. With a full armor suite like they have, I imagine blocking here with armor is the better bet, even though their armor is really, really good for me. Not only does it give me Quicken tokens with the Civic Steps, but it also gives me Might tokens. This is incredibly powerful because that means that I can then use that to, again, pump up a lot of my attacks, giving me even more value as the game goes on. So I now have a Quicken and a Might token for the next turn, and now I just have to survive this one. My opponent's going to go ahead and come in with... Oh man, I believe this is actually a pretty nasty turn, if I recall correctly. They have a gold, which is really, really good, but they do come in with a Macho Grande for a whopping 10 damage. So 10 dominate Macho Grande. There's not a lot I can do in this situation because I don't believe I have a Flick Flack in my arsenal. So I just have to take damage here. I end up blocking 3, taking 7, going all the way down to 11. So now the life totals are a little bit tighter, but those dominates are really, really powerful into me. If I don't have Flick Flacks properly set up, then I don't really have a game here. And Flick Flacks, I believe, are the only D-Reacts that I'm actually playing in the deck. Or the only D-Reacts I'm playing. I don't think I'm playing Sink Belows or Fates or anything of the sort. So this Rising Knee Thrust actually, believe it or not, gets to get a huge amount of value because it gets to come in for 4 and go again due to the Quicken token. This is very, very nice to start off my turn because normally it's pitch for Kadachi, but here I get to start off with a big combo turn, play a Rising Knee Thrust, and then I just get to go ahead and come in with something else here. Now, what I come in with on top of this is I do get to Razor Reflex. I'm trying to kind of push more damage here. Razor Reflex gives it go again, but it doesn't really get go again. But it does get +3 because it's an attack with 0 or less cost. So I'm going to go ahead and deal 7, or I'm going to have 7 go into that. I'm going to break my Vests of the First Fist and get some more resources so I can then play Torrent of Tempo. And I'm going to have this come in for 6. My opponent is going to block 6 here. Didn't really expect them to block an entire 6, but that is to be expected. I theoretically could have probably come in with a Kadachi and just kept something in Arsenal, but I really wanted to, again, put on the pressure. I threatened 13 damage that turn, which is more than they were able to produce last turn, even on a powerful Dominate attack. This Concuss is coming in, no float, 1 card in hand, 6 attack. It's really rough for me here because my mindset tells me to just take 6. But another part of me tells me that this is going to be a long game and I shouldn't just be taking damage willy-nilly. My turns can be quite powerful as Ira, but most of the time it is, again, just kind of that chip damage. Coming in for 8 every turn consistently, or coming in for, something like maybe 10, 11 at its most. I guess I did come in for 13 that last one, but most of the time it's not anything higher than that. You're consistently coming in for about 8. So you want to make sure that's happening. The Might token pops. That means that this Kadachi is getting a +1 to it. So this is getting a 2. They're going to give the Golden Glare for that. I'm going to get another Kadachi in here. This one also coming in for 2 as per normal. So my token's really not working out in his favor. I'm getting quite a bit of value from them, especially since I'm just ripping equipment from them. Then I get to come in with a Head Jab for 3. This is, again, more damage. I have 2 cards in hand. And I believe this is... It's interesting, right? Because obviously they want to block. Because you don't want to just take damage, especially in this case. Now, what I do next is I believe I come in with a card that I probably shouldn't have played. And that's Whirling Mist Blossom. Now, Whirling Mist Blossom comes in for 2. And when it hits, if this is the second attack on the chain link or higher that is hit in a row, I get to draw 2 cards. Now, I played it assuming that it was as long as it hit and it was the second chain link or higher, I drew 2 cards. But because it is in a row, head jab would have needed to hit in order for this to be more threatening, and instead this is just 2 damage. I'll give you a heads up because you can't see the card in my hand. I believe I did have a open the center, which is really good to play after head jab because it gives it +1 and dominate and go again. And that's very, very powerful. So that open the center would have come in for 6 dominate, threatening a lot more damage, whereas now they just took 2 and kind of made it happen. 8 dominates coming at me. I can't take 5. So I have to block with my equipment here. And now we're down to 1. Our opponent's at 6. It's very, very rough to threaten this kind of damage here. But we're hoping to just stay defensive. We're hoping they draw into Bupkis. And we end up actually getting to move forward pretty quickly here. So the Quicken Token comes in. I'm going to actually go ahead and just utilize this to the best of my ability because I do want to not use Quicken Tokens on my Kodachis. So now this Fluster Fist is going to come in for 5 with the +1 from Ira, and then it gets go again from that Quicken Token that was just made. Quicken Tokens are also not like agility tokens, mind you. Quicken Tokens pop whenever you attack with your next attack action or weapon attack, whereas agility waits until the beginning of your next turn to activate. So being able to utilize that Quicken Token this turn pretty well works out. I then go ahead and take a little bit of damage here. They're running out of armor. I believe this is the last turn they have armor for anything, which means that now I can come in for breakpoints and kind of leak a little bit more damage, and my opponent can't really do anything about it outside of just taking it, right? This is where it gets down to the wire. My opponent is really trying to figure out what they want to power through. I'm going to go ahead and pitch and then just play that open the center. Open the center comes in for 5 in this situation. I really, really wish that I had played it after the head jab. I feel like that would have been a more powerful play. I would have almost guaranteed 3 damage instead of 2 damage. And that 1 damage kind of makes the difference there. When my camera shifted here, also unfortunately, my lighting ended up becoming awful. So I do have the life totals down there at 1 and 5. And you're going to see this is kind of the situation in which, and good on Pat for knowing this, to just swing hammer. Because I don't want hammer to hit. And I have to give up 2 cards now in order for that to not hit. So their whole turn is just block out efficiently and hit with hammer. I have to block with 2 cards in order for, unless I play a red flick flack, I have to block out with 2 cards every turn they swing with that hammer because I'm at 1. Now, of course, I get to still present a decent amount with a blue. I get to present 3 damage every turn and they get to present 4. And all I need to do is keep a blue in hand. Not terrible, but in this race, I am eventually just going to start losing cards. And if they come in with a really powerful attack, I can't block it out as efficiently. Clash of Might comes through. I lose that clash as expected. And they go ahead and they get to make a Might token. That's going to help them out a lot on their next turn. But I get to go ahead and come in with a Torrent Tempo. This is for 5. 5 is pretty good. Again, I'm trying to strip as many cards as I possibly can from my opponent's hand. I feel like I could have held back a little bit. But again, I have to give up 2 cards every turn in order for me to not die to hammer. And the more pressure I put on, the more they have to block. And, if they end up getting a hand of all reds, I win. I mean, it's a pretty simple concept there, but with it being what is essentially second cycle at this point now, you're probably running into a lot more blues than you are reds, much like with that Clash of Might. So you're expected to see some change there. But Torrent of Tempo, they're going to go ahead and block that out for 6, and I don't get go again, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as such. I'll draw up, and we're going to do this song and dance for quite some time. They're going to swing hammer, and then I'm going to go ahead and block it. And then I'm going to swing with Kodachis, and they're going to block. And then we do that until somebody runs out of deck. I'm going to make sure this is running so you guys can see the actual gameplay, because it does get kind of close. You know, being at 1 and then them being at 4. You'd think they'd have a pretty solid lead, but I do continuously still put on pressure. They can't just take Kodachis. They have to block. It's still pretty efficient. So even if they take 2 cards, pitch for Hammer to attack for 4, and then I pitch 1 card and attack for 3, it ends up working out still in, you know, in their favor. They have more damage potential on their weapon because their weapon can't lose clashes simply due to the fact that the Guardian is always going to have more power than the Ira is. So the Might's popping. They are actually going to go ahead and play a Debilitate for a whopping 9 here with the Might token. Now, I have to give up 3 cards in this situation, because if I can't give up 3, I die. So, and most of the cards in my deck block for 3. That is very important, and I'm very happy that I have that there, but I do also still have some D-reacts and other things of the sort. So here I'm blocking for 5, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit that red Flick Flack and block for 9. Do I wish I had blocked with something else? Sure. But the red Flick Flack was the only way to make that a very even block. And in this situation, I play a 1-2 punch. They block effectively. I can't use my breaking scales on this 1-2 punch because they do block 4 to my 3, and then we just pass it up. So you'll see my turns just kind of end up being nowhere near as good, and Victor still gets to present 4 damage a turn. They're cracking their gold there, utilizing the power of their gold really, really well to kind of filter out stuff in their hand and kind of really set them up for a powerful turn. They've got a full grip. They're able to come in with some powerful stuff and again, strip more cards from my hand. They know I'm out of red Flick Flacks, and it's just continuously worse. So Chokeslam, red coming in, again, very, very powerful stuff. No worries about dominates or pummels of the sort in this situation. You know, we don't have to worry about a 1 float, 1 tunic resource here. But this is very, very, very terrifying. Again, I have to block as effectively as possible. So I have to give him 9, and I'm left with 1 card in my hand. This Song and Dance just happens. Victor loses nearly no resources by attacking that way, and I lose a lot because I can't block in that effective manner. So we now have a situation here. They came in for 8, and I should have instead. I believe I should have blocked for 8 with the Flick Flack, and maybe kept the Flying Kick in my deck, because that way I could have at least at some point gone Kodachi Flying Kick for 5. So that would have been really, really good. But I didn't. I decided to keep the Flick Flack in case we need to D-react for something, but the card in my arsenal has just kind of been sitting there, not really providing a lot of value. My opponent's just going to keep blocking these Kodachis because they know they're low enough, and if they don't start blocking them now, they're going to have to start blocking them later. And I also run attack reactions. I mean, I still have Short and Sharp and some Razor Reflex in here. So you want to make sure that you're blocking effectively, because if you're not, you're going to take a lot of damage. And you don't want to take a lot of damage. So here, I believe I'm thinking we get a pummel taken out of there. I just go ahead and pass it on up. I believe I have a Whirling Mist Blossom in my arsenal. And I'm really trying to like make that happen, but they're blocking all my Kodachis, so I really can't even get 1 in. This Golden Sun is going to come in only for 7. They did block, or they did get rid of their gold. Otherwise, that probably would have been game right there. But they did pop their gold. So I definitely probably would have just waited on, on using the gold on their end. But they got some good damage through anyway. So I guess they really got no damage through. But, you know, ripping cards from my hand is like damage. So again, same Song and Dance, Kodachi for 1, Kodachi for 2. We're going to see whether or not they start taking damage anywhere. I'm kind of waiting for a perfect opportunity. I'm hoping my attack reacts get into my hand sometime soon. There's that Whirling Mist Blossom. Now, obviously, the draw does not matter here, but my opponent's at 4. Going and taking 2 more is incredibly important, especially if I can get over with a Razor Reflex. So they have to keep themselves at that perfect number. And they do. I mean, it's really great. You know, it's effective. Pitch a blue, attack for 3. I have to block 2. And we just, again, we do the song and dance for quite some time. This is a true masterclass in fatigue here to see really the value of every single card that you have. I'm currently looking through my graveyard because my opponent wants to see how many Razor Reflexes I have in there. I have 1 Razor Reflex, so they know now that I have 2. He knows that I pitched 1. So they didn't ask for about the short and sharp though. So there is still that floating around somewhere. But I go ahead and I'm, again, Kadachi. You know, we gotta hope for the best here. And then we're just chilling at this point. We're hoping to rip cards from their hand. They can't take any Kadachi damage. They're just gonna block it out. I believe they have at least 7 or more cards in their deck compared to me. I go ahead and I just keep that in hand. And we just wait it on out. We see what our opponent has. They're going to continue to attack with this wonderful hammer for 4. And not much you can do in that situation. I go ahead and block 5 here. And we move on. Now, we're really getting down to the wire here. We don't have too many cards left in our deck. And I'm trying to still just like put on pressure. I'm just hoping that I have enough to make it happen. I think a lot of what is happening here is I'm using a 3rd card. When I know my opponent's blocking Kadachis, I should just not be using a 3rd card to push, because my opponent doesn't seem to have any more Macho Grandes. They don't seem to have any special other things available there. So Flusterfist is going to come in and they block 3. Now in this situation, I feel like I just have to do it. I play Razor Reflex to give it +3. You'd think this is game, but it's not. I go ahead and pop a Breaking Scales there. So now this is at 6. So it's going to take 3 damage. You're going to bring them down to 1. So it'll be 1 to 1. Now he knows that's my last Razor Reflex. So it's kind of rough on that situation. I go ahead and draw up to my last hand. I got nothing left. So I draw up to my last hand. My opponent goes ahead and attacks with a hammer. Those are my last 2 cards. I can't block anything else anymore. I ask him if he can attack me with hammer, he wins the game. He can, in fact, attack with hammer, and I die. And that is how you lose in a fatigue match. As you can tell, I did speed that game up to 2 times speed for your viewing pleasure, simply because I know that was probably really crazy. I really was waiting for that perfect opportunity to use the to just use the Razor Reflex. And again, I feel like what I was doing in my own turn phases was I was attacking with Kadachi card. But when I saw that my opponent was blocking every single one of my Kadachis, I should have just started keeping cards. Even if I took IP penalties, wasn't a problem to me. I should have just kept cards. Because if I kept cards, I wouldn't have been worried. I would have been able to have a little bit more in deck, and it would have been to that same scenario. I would have had at least probably 3, 4, maybe 5 more cards in the deck if I decided to not attack with that 5th card or with that 3rd card, therefore giving me a little bit more in the resource department to swing with these Kadachis, or even present a breakpoint later on in the game if that ended up working out. So I did end up losing my round 2 in this match, but that just means that now we have a round 3. So if you guys wanted to go ahead and check out that video, make sure to like this one, subscribe to the channel. You can also go ahead and check out our last video where I played as Dromai into the same Victor Goldmane. So if you wanted to check out that video, make sure to go ahead and do that as well. And leave a comment down below. Let me know how you felt the game went. Luckily, even though I sped it up at 2 times speed, we didn't really take that long of a time. We were pretty locked into what we needed to do, and we both played at a very good level of time. It was not like an Oldhim Dromai match, you know what I mean? So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Again, subscribe to the channel if you have not already for more wonderful Clash content. And if you wanted to, you can become a channel member. Channel members do get member-only videos as well as emotes and loyalty badges that you guys can use during our live streams that I do just about every Thursday. So if you wanted to support the channel that way, it is very, very much so appreciated, but it is not necessary. Even if you just subscribe to the channel, it certainly helps us out a lot. We are moving closer and closer to 2,000 subscribers, and I hope to see you all there when it happens. So thank you all so much for watching, and continue to have fun in the flesh and blood. And I'll see you all in our next Clash video. Nerd out.